This is the brand new 15-inch MacBook Air with the M5 chip, which Apple just released recently in March 2026. I just grabbed this from Amazon, and today we're looking at why this base model might actually be the smartest, most practical choice for you over the more expensive MacBook Pro M5.
From the first moment I saw you, I knew I had to make you mine.
Now that it's open on my desk, let's look at this new sky blue color. Indoors, this looks like a clean, cool metallic gray, but under the light, you see a really nice icy blue shade emerge. And touching the aluminum right here, wow, a dark finish like Apple's old midnight blue would already be covered in greasy finger smudges. On this finish, you can barely see a thing. The lighter aluminum tone means it will hold up way better against visible scratches over time, making it a highly practical daily driver. Unlike the ultra-budget MacBook Neo, which lacks it entirely, the Air still keeps its great keyboard backlight, and the Touch ID sensor built right in. Now, why am I replacing my laptop today? For 3 years, my base M2 Air 15-inch was my on-the-go machine, but lately, with the newest software and macOS updates, that old 8GB of RAM just couldn't keep up anymore. It really started lagging. This became especially noticeable because at home, my main desktop computer has 24 gigs of RAM. Moving between a desktop powerhouse and an 8GB laptop on the road was getting painful. I needed an upgrade, but instead of overpaying for a Pro laptop, I looked for the best ratio of price and quality, and that led me right back to the Air line. First, let's address the display. On paper, the 14-inch MacBook Pro looks superior because of its higher pixel density. But in the real world, the actual viewport is the king. The 15.3-inch screen on the Air gives you a native user interface viewport of 1710 by 1107 pixels. Now, if you buy the 14-inch Pro, the default workspace drops to 1512 by 982 pixels. On that smaller viewport, your sidebars, tools and timelines heavily choke your center canvas. For the average user who does a lot of multitasking, like splitting the screen to open a web browser window right next to a document, that workflow is perfectly fine on a 15-inch Air, but it feels way too cramped on a 14-inch Pro viewport. Now let's talk about the price. If you look at the Apple Store, the 15-inch M5 Air starts at $1299 US, or 1499 euros in Europe, while a base M5 Pro 14-inch starts around $1599 US. But here is the smart value play with the 15-inch Air. Unlike the smaller 13-inch model, which forces you onto a weaker 8-core graphics chip unless you pay to upgrade, the 15-inch Air gives you a free upgrade for the 10-core GPU right out of the box. That puts its graphical capabilities for gaming and for editing on par with the base model of MacBook Pro M5. And yes, the Pro has a fan for sustained cooling under extreme, hours-long rendering loads. But the Air is completely fanless, lightweight, and dead silent. For 95% of daily tasks, the Air chip is more than powerful enough. The Pro adds a built-in HDMI port and an SD card slot. But for most users, those aren't deal breakers anymore. There are a ton of great external monitors on the market today that wire up seamlessly using a single USB-C cable. And if you absolutely need an SD card slot because you use a digital camera, you can buy a dedicated external card reader just for a few bucks. The Air keeps the headphone jack and natively supports running a dual external display setup. Plus, it features the MagSafe charger, leaving you 2 Thunderbolt ports completely free for your main accessories. Now, if we're talking about value for money, why not just buy the cheaper new MacBook Neo? It just launched this year and for a crazy low price, and when I tried it at the Apple Store, I actually love the physical design. The trackpad feels amazing, the keyboard looks great, and the typing experience is excellent. I even saw the Citrus Lime Gold version, which looks cool in photos, but honestly, it would distract you way too much while trying to work. The silver version is a classic for a reason. The MacBook Neo screen also drops the notch, which looks clean and appealing at a first glance. But the screen itself is just too small and basic for real productivity. It limits your cheap performance and puts you right back into that 8 gigs of RAM bottleneck. For an average user, the Neo is fine if you do only video calls and light web browsing, but it's just a bit too limiting if you want a true work machine. Speaking of video calls, Apple finally upgraded the web camera of the M5 Air to a 12-megapixel center stage camera. So having a sharp web camera built right into your travel laptop is a massive upgrade over the previous generations. To be completely objective, let's talk about the compromises on the Air. First up, the battery life. it does get slightly less runtime on a single charge than the 14-inch M5 Pro, because it has to power that massive 15-inch display panel. The screen is also a standard LCD, not OLED. It's stuck at a standard 60Hz refresh rate, though it has a great resolution and a True Tone support. The brightness is locked at 500 nits, so it's enough to work outside in the shade, but definitely not in the direct sunlight. Next, the chargers. For a smart setup, you should look into getting additional 70-watt power charger. Because the Air has a smaller battery, a 70-watt brick triggers fast charging, taking you to 50% in just 30 minutes. If you're in Europe, Apple actually stopped including the brick entirely now. You get only the MagSafe cable, so you can pick your own brick from day one. Finally, the storage. The base Pro comes with 1TB, while the Air gives you 512GB. But Apple actually doubled the base storage this generation from 256GB up to 512GB standard. Today, most of our heavy files, documents and assets live safely in the cloud anyways. So for most people, 256GB is completely fine, and having 512GB right out of the box is a huge sweet spot that gives you plenty of local breathing room. The speakers are fine, but not quite at the elite level of the Pro. But for casual listening, or if you're using external Bluetooth speaker or headphones anyway, they get the job done perfectly. At the end of the day, it's thin, it's light, it gives you a massive workspace for multitasking, fixes the old 8GB of RAM bottleneck, and it strikes the absolute perfect balance between the premium quality and a sensible price tag. If you appreciate tech that focuses on real-world utility over the spec sheet hype, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps a growing channel out. Let me know in the comments below if you prefer a streamlined setup like the Air, or if you think the Pro features are worth the extra cash. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
But I promise you for sure, girl, my love is